notes just fade away and vanish in the air.
All right. They get the joke. Children of the Sound by Kaipa. I think that's how you pronounce it. Kaipa. Anyway, they are a Swedish progressive rock band that got their start in the mid to late 70s, and they put out quite a number of albums within that block, and then they took a hiatus in the 80s, like 82, 83. And then 20 years later, they're back on the scene in 2002 with Notes from the Past, and that album is one of the albums that really made me fall in love with progressive rock music. It came out at the perfect time for me, and it really captured what I was hoping music was doing within the 2000s. And from there, they've been releasing a pretty constant flow of music. Each album definitely progresses their sound, but they never really deviate too far from the norm. They kind of have that same playing styles. There's a lot of harmonizations between the male and the female vocals. A lot of that harmonization between the synthetic and symphonic sounds within, say, like the keyboards and the synthesizers, blended with that very unique guitar sounds. And now we come into, at least in my mind, visually, the next step, which is the Children of Sound. Now, visually, I mean, from the Keyholder in 2002 to the Angled Feeling in 2007, the three albums there used a very primitive computer-generated artwork. And then from the 2010 album, from In the Wake of Evolution, to the 2014, they used mirror imaging within bubbles. And this is the first one that's almost like a pastel painting. Where it's like a very acrylic, very very hushed and blurred imagery. And so with this presentation, I thought they were going to take a new direction within their sound. And what we have on the Children of Sounds is a lot more of the same from this band. And in some respects, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but at the same hand, there's no real new ground that's being tread. There's nothing that the band is really moving forward outside of providing us with more of what we already enjoy. There are three pretty lengthy tracks on this. The first three, the title track, The Children of the Sound, opening it up with a 11.5-minute stretch. It's followed up with a mini epic, a 17-minute song of On the Edge of New Horizons, and then it's sandwiched again with a almost a 13-minute track of Like the Serpentine. And these three tracks are, again, exactly what you're expecting with a Kaipa song at this point. As I said, the vocalizations are beautiful. I love the female vocals provided by, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce these names, Alina Gibson and Patrick Lundstorm. Both of these guys, fantastic display of vocal talent. Now, I would be remiss if I wasn't to at least address Jonas Ringgold on the bass and Morgan Argen on the drums. These two provide that heartbeat that I love with Kaipa. Like, their drive is so unique. Like, they have that signature retro prog sound, and I think these guys were the first to really capture that. Now, it's actually the last two tracks on this album that I really gravitate to. The Shadowy Sunlight and What's Beyond the Fields. Shadowy Sunlight has a little bit of a breath of fresh air within the playing styles. It has a little bit of a darker moment on it. It's got a little bit more of that fun rhythm section that I was really, really hoping for. But it doesn't do enough new that I was really, excited about it. And the best song that's on this is definitely the last song of What's Behind the Fields. And this guy has probably my favorite playout of any Kaipa album. It's the best closing track by far from anyone. And that's even including my, one of my favorite songs of theirs from In the Wake of Evolution. Because I didn't feel like they really ended that song very well. Like, the entire song is beautiful, but I didn't think they really punctuated it properly. Like, they didn't place down that period in the right place. With What's Behind the Fields, they finally did, and they have that really beautiful play out, that great guitar build that starts in and around the 6-minute mark, and when it starts to build, it really draws out the emotion. And when I first started to hear this, I'm like, I wasn't really feeling it, wasn't really getting into the groove, but the more I was listening to it, the more I started to groove along with it, and I realized, okay, now we've got some emotion, we've got some new grounds that we're walking, and that is what I was expecting with what they had presented us with that artwork with the album. Overall, this album is a little bit of a letdown with the past works, and I've felt this since probably in the wake of Evolution. Like, the last 2 or 3 albums from them are good, and they provide some fantastic music, but it doesn't really capture my interest as much as a lot of their past works. I feel like they've worked themselves into a comfortable box, and I feel like they're not getting themselves out of it. Like, they've painted themselves into a room and they don't know where to go from here, so they're just kind of redoing the same styles and the same sounds. I mean, it got to the point where even within What's Behind the Fields, they were using themes and motifs that we heard from past albums. But that is still not saying that the music isn't beautiful. Like, if this is your first Kaipa album, it's going to be a good time. Overall, I would definitely probably have to say stream this album. I mean, if you're a diehard fan of the band, you're probably not going to be disappointed because you're getting pretty much what you've already had. So in that respect, it's a great album, but I don't know, I was hoping for a little bit more. So that's my take. What did you guys think of the Children of the Sound from Kaipa? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Let me know of your own thoughts by commenting down below. Thank you guys so much for watching. You guys are definitely the best. And until next time, notes out.